A football summer Monday on Birds 365. You got McMullen, McDonald, and our pal Jeff Kerr from CBSSports.com, who we made wait for a couple of minutes because I couldn't stop taking shots at an executive who doesn't have Lane Johnson in the top 10 in the National Football League. But Jeff Kerr, I hope you had a good week. You were on with us last week. Hope you bowled a 300 somewhere. But we're not even going there today. Instead, I'm going to stay in attack mode. And it's going to be one of your brethren at CBSSports.com. And I've had Brian DeArdo, right? He's one of your fellow writers at CBS Sports.
Yeah, he's on paternity leave right now, so he missed this.
So I'm gonna take a shot at a guy who's trying to.
It's like Marcus Mariota getting benched after having his kid. Jody's going to take a shot at this poor guy.
Keeping him up all night, and I'm just going to take a shot at him. All right, well, I apologize, Brian, but you get what you deserve. On a recent posting on CBSSports.com talking about the running backs who today's the day, 4 o'clock today, they either have to sign a contract extension or they have to play on the franchise tag. Pollard with the Cowboys, Saquon with the Giants, and Josh Jacobs of the Raiders. And DeArdo said that don't be surprised if the Raiders try and trade him because he's not going to want to play on a tag. He might hold out, whatever. And the number one possible destination for Josh Jacobs would be a trade to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, that's not happening. That's why
Is he blaming the fact that he's on maternity leave? Is that why DeArdo is so out of touch because he's got to take care of his newborn baby that he would come up with something as ludicrous as the Eagles trading for Josh Jacobs?
I got a secret for you. This is why I don't like when we have to list teams after every time someone does something. Oh, yeah, let's make the hypothetical.
Jeff's going to prove my point here. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's make the hypothetical and let's just put someone in there. And I'm telling you, Brian hates that stuff just as much as I do. I'll tell you that right now.
And I guarantee you, I don't know Brian.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's based. Do you know where he's based?
Yeah, he's based out of Pittsburgh. So he does Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati.
I'm going to guarantee he's not that well versed in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, at least opposed to certain other teams in their history with running backs. And something I should have added in our first segment is, by the way, players I believe were involved with Fowler's list as well. So that jumbles things up.
I thought it was just executives.
I think it was players as well.
I thought it was players on Fowler's list.
Players, execs, scouts. I think it was a whole collapse. So it might be players bitter at getting destroyed by Lane on a week-to-week basis. So I should have thrown that in. But Jeff brings up a good point. Look, not everybody's well-versed on the Eagles' running back history. And by the way, in the Eagles, remember when, I forget who did it, who floated, it was an ex-player. I want to give him credit. Floated the Derrick Henry's coming to Philadelphia stuff. Who was that?
That was
the guy who's the host of the
Akbar Gbajabiamila, host of American Ninja Warrior in the Talk.
Ninja Warrior.
And everybody bought that, and I think Joe Banner chimed in. It's like, when are these people going to stop with running backs? And
you know what's funny about that whole thing? I remember going on Reddit one time, and someone said, "Is this guy like legit? Is he correct?" And someone pointed out like the 1 time out of 10 he was right. And everybody just kind of rolled with it. I'm like, well, I'm not rolling.
I mean, look, and I'll throw this out to both of you, and Jody, please chime in, because I was talking to a program executive that shall remain nameless, and he threw out, like, when I say no shot, hashtag no, DeAndre Hopkins. By the way, isn't it a surprise, guys, that the Eagles didn't pay $12 million to a number 3 receiver?
I'm shocked, guys. I'm shocked.
I almost fell over. I was so shocked. But, so when I bring it, we're just having fun, he would tell me. Oh, it's just fun. We know, but it's just fun. And then to me, the back end is, all right, it's fun. Why is it fun to talk about unrealistic stuff and then you edge? Can
I be honest, John? It's an insult to what we do.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
So when I had to rank the Hopkins stuff like potential landing spots for CBS when he was released, I did a little twist on it. I'm like, okay, let's rank the realistic possibility of the quarterbacks he listed and where he's going. And I think people appreciated that more. And I said, look, it's probably going to be the Bills or the Chiefs. And if the Ravens really wanted to get into it, they would have, but they didn't. But I said, there's no way the Eagles are paying that money.
Yeah.
See, now we're looking at two different things. There are two different things here. Number one was the discussion John and I were having about Fowler compiling others' opinions. That's one thing. Brian DeArdo is the sole name on the article that he posted. And I've had him on my show on CBS Sports Radio, and he does a nice job, and I think generally knows what he's talking about.
He's an NFL historian.
Okay, that's good. Then he knows the history. Then he doesn't know 2023. Because you got to do a little homework here, big guy. He wants to write a column about Jacobs being traded. Well, where could Jacobs be traded? Ooh, the Eagles used to have Miles Sanders. Now they don't. Now they brought in DeAndre Swift. Didn't have to give up much to get him. They signed Rashawn Penny for $150 during the offseason. Well, they don't really have an unquestioned number one lead back. Let's give him Josh Jacobs. Come on, you got to be better than that. I know he doesn't follow the Eagles day in and day out like McMullen and McDonald do, but it's not like a well-kept secret that the Eagles devalue the running back position. Why would they trade for a guy who's going to make top-of-the-market money? It just doesn't add up. Come on, he's better than that.
So I had a couple of local again, I don't cover the Titans much. I don't really know too much about what they do. So I actually asked around one time when Hopkins was available, and I said, hey, you guys are wanting to know, like, does Vrabel actually mean what he says, or is he one of those guys that kind of beats around the bush like, oh, we're not interested in DeAndre Hopkins? And one guy said, I wouldn't be shocked if they signed him. So I didn't roll with that, but I said, I'm not going to put the Titans out of this race. And
smart.
That's all I said. Yeah, that's all I said, because in an article previously, when or someone asked me on Twitter, and I said, I don't know, to be honest with you. And they're like, what do you mean you don't know? I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm like, you ask your local beat.
Well, and by the way, Kansas City and Buffalo, Kansas City was involved with DeAndre Hopkins. It would have had to have gotten to the point where, he's like, oh, I'm not going to get the money I want. Then you go into ring shopping mode. Then Kansas City would have became relevant. But as long as somebody was going to go up to 12, and it could be 15 with Tennessee, what a shock. He took the best deal.
What I don't get with Hopkins and all this is, why didn't you just wait until Chris Jones gets that extension, which I believe is going to happen very soon? Then the cap space is freed up, and then he could have had his cake and ate it too.
Yeah,
I don't think they were going near that number, Joe.
I don't think they were either, but they definitely would have had a competitive offer. I'll
give you my read on it. Number one, I'll take a victory lap because the day Hopkins got released, I said he'll sign with the team that's going to pay him the most money. He's not a ring chaser. He doesn't worry about getting the Super Bowl. No, he's going to get paid. And he did. And I guarantee you, Tennessee was far and away the biggest offer that he had. And I'll tell you who should get credit for getting DeAndre Hopkins the most money from the Tennessee Titans. The Jets. See if you can follow my logic on this one.
I think I know where you're going here.
When they signed Quinnen Williams last week, the bar for defensive tackles got reset. So Chris Jones is talking to the Chiefs. They're looking to get that extension done to clear up money under the cap to be able to be a player for DeAndre Hopkins. The bar got reset. Quinnen Williams got more money than everybody expected. So Jones goes back in and says, oh, yeah, we got to redo the deal we're talking about. That means Kansas City doesn't have any cap room to play with. And, yes, Tennessee got nervous and said, before this happened, they might get this done. We need to get this done, and they upped their offer. And that's why he's now a Tennessee Titan. So the Jets, by moving the bar on the defensive tackle.
And by the way, there's, again, I'll give credit to Howie Roseman. That's why Howie, more often than not, acts early for this reason. Kansas City lost Tyreek Hill last year for the same reason. They had to deal with him. And then all of a sudden, who signed? I forget who signed. It just exploded.
It wasn't Debo. It wasn't
Devontae Adams.
Yeah, Devontae Adams was the one who signed and got traded. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Tyreek's like, whoa, hold on. And then they're like, we can't go to this. And this whole sort of domino effect.
Yep.
Yeah, other teams in what they do affect the other teams. And that's why Howie Roseman's, I was pretty consistent, Jody. He's got to get Jalen Hurts done first, if at all possible, because Burrow's coming, Justin Herbert's coming.
That was my number one priority for them this offseason, get Jalen Hurts. Oh, by the way, Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow are still getting the questions. Have you signed? I asked Justin Herbert it already. I'm like, hey, yeah, I know I got to ask you this. And he goes, yeah, I know. We got to get it done. I said.
And by the way, Jalen Hurts, even though they haven't gotten it done, Jalen Hurts was the highest paid player in the history of football for 4 days.
Was it 4 days or was it 10? It was 10 days.
I think it was 4 days.
It was less than a week. I think it was less than a week.
I'll have to double check, but I think it was.
Yeah, I thought Lamar signed the next week on draft night.
Maybe officially, but but I'll look it up. But either way, I mean, that's how quickly it happens. And somebody sets the bar, and then look, whenever they sign Joe Burrow, and it's more difficult for we've talked about this a lot, for the Bengals and the Chargers, two of the lesser financially well-heeled teams in the league, because you got to put that money in escrow. They're not cash fluid, so they have bigger problems. They got to get all their ducks in a row. But when they sign those guys, they're going to get more than Jalen Hurts. They are. It's the way it works.
None of them have been paid just yet. And that's why Howie's got to get extra credit, as Johnny correctly points out. Nobody's dealing with that. They just Jalen Hurts coming into camp, happy young man, not listening to the noise or the rat picking up the rat poison, whatever. He's in place. Burrow and Herbert will be answering questions all preseason long. And how about the contract? How about the contract? How about the contract? Yeah, the Bengals and the Chargers have to deal with that. Eagles don't.
No, it's beautiful. I actually was asked that. I was on the Cincinnati radio station Friday, and they're like, when do you think the Burrow deal is going to get done, in all honesty? And I said, you know what? If I'm Cincinnati, I would just – he's going to get $60 million a year anyway. You might as well just pay him $65, reset the market, and then make the Cowboys pay Dak Prescott $70 million.
You're talking about the Bengals resetting the market? That has no chance of happening.
I got a fun story for you. You know the Joe Mixon restructure? That's the first time the Bengals have ever restructured a contract of their own player.
Really?
They've tried, but that's the first one that they were able to get done.
He took a big haircut, Joe Mixon. I'm surprised.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that's the price you want to pay for winning a Super Bowl.
I was going to say,
winning
can you
players.
blame him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the market's
out there.
There's not much you can do. There's not much you can do, because if you're going to get cut, you're not going to get money elsewhere. Yeah, running backs are in a bad position.
So basically, what out in Cincinnati, the perception was he did not want to be Dalvin Cook. He didn't want to be a free agent. Okay.
And guess what? I agree with him, because the running back market has been so devalued. You're screwed. His redone deal, even though it's a pretty big haircut, as John points out, better than what he would have gotten if he got free agency.
And
I don't think anybody's giving him any more than that.
You're playing with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on a team that just went the AFC Championship game 2 years in a row, and you like it there. Why would you want to leave?
Yeah, fair point. I mean, we're going to see Dalvin Cook. I think it's going to sign somewhere within the next week, I would think.
Don't you guys think it's going to be Miami now?
I do think it's going to be Miami. I think Miami is using the Jets, and I think the Jets shouldn't even play into it. I think Jody's Jets shouldn't even play into it. But, if you're the Jets, you might say, well, let's try to, finagle it and try to up the price and make it more difficult for Miami. So it's a delicate line. You have to sort of straddle if you're Joe Douglas, but ultimately, yeah, I think he's going to end up in Miami.
How bad is it for the Patriots? They weren't able to get DeAndre Hopkins.
I don't think it's that bad. I don't care about DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's a descending player. I got to pay him $15 million. By the way, Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback. I mean, he's not going to get the football. He's not going to be happy.
They got the great Will Levis backing up the guy who can't throw. That's what I'm told. That's all I'm told. He can't throw. I mean, I've said it when he was at Penn State. He can't throw. But
like I said, Tennessee doesn't have a quarterback. Yeah, it's not going to work out well. And the Patriots aren't terrible at receiver, and they don't have a high volume passing game anyway. So it's kind of like, what's the point? I don't want to pay that guy $15 million. Now, the old DeAndre Hopkins, yeah. But he wouldn't be available. There's a reason he's available.
If Bill Belichick cares that I think Andy Reid's better coaching him, then yeah.
John and Jeff, do you believe the Patriots have a better wide receiver than DeAndre Hopkins this year?
No, not at all.
If he comes in and he's your number one wide receiver, you at least have to have interest. If you're going to add a guy. Now, the money's the other thing. I don't think shame on the Titans for paying him what they paid him, and the Patriots weren't going to go.
Did we lose Jody, John?
Did we lose Jody? Yeah, Jody's frozen. We'll see. So I was looking up the Patriots when Jody got frozen, Jeff. So they have Devontae Parker, Juju. They signed Juju Smith-Schuster from Kansas City. They got that fast kid, Tyquan Thornton. I don't know. Is it that much of an upgrade that I'm going to be upset?
I think they like Devontae Parker. I think that was a good pickup for them.
He's a decent player. No, was DeAndre better? Yeah, of course he's better. But is it that much of an upgrade for $15 million for 1 year? And I don't think they're a contender either.
Who's more of a contender, Tennessee or New England?
Oh, definitely New England. Tennessee's awful. I don't agree with it at all from Tennessee's perspective. Yeah. I think it's a terrible decision by them.
I was talking to a couple of my Jaguars guys. They're not even afraid of DeAndre Hopkins. They're like, whatever. They're still the best team. Jacksonville's still the best team.
Yeah, I mean, the AFC South, I think, if you were to ask me who is the most definitive division champion in the NFL, I would say Jacksonville. Like, I can envision a scenario where the Eagles have some injuries and the Cowboys win the division. If you look at the NFC North, it could be anybody. The NFC South, I could make a case for anybody. You can make a bigger case for who's the worst team. You can make a case for all of them. That could be an 8-win division winner. The NFC West, you can make a case for Seattle if San Francisco has issues at the quarterback position. I think the biggest sort of gimme as a division champion is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I take Andy Reid.
I don't know, because that division still is.
I don't like Brandon Staley, but I like Justin Herbert a lot. I mean, you're right. That'd probably be number 2. I'm not saying it's close, but I think the Chargers are closer to the Chiefs than anybody that's closer to the Jags and it's because everybody else is horrible.
By the way,
there's
John,
no other competency in that division.
Speaking of NFL stuff, like, I love this quarterback competition in Tampa Bay right now. If it's a competition, then why was Baker Mayfield in the Bucks premiere for their creamsicle unis and Kyle Trask wasn't?
Well, those are the marketing people, Jeff.
I don't want to hear it. You're not going to see the Eagles roll out Tanner McKee in there if there was a quarterback competition.
Now, well, if Tampa Bay, if Kyle Trask beats out Baker Mayfield,
he shouldn't.
They got issues. Well, they got issues anyway.
But they got issues anyway, John.
They got issues anyway.
That's why
I think John Wolford is their third-string quarterback, the old Rams backup.
I call him the AAF legend, John Wolford.
That's why I've been saying all off season. That's where if Dalvin Cook wants to be a DeAndre Hopkins, that's where he should go, to Tampa. Because
they really like Rachaad White, though. They really do.
Better than
Dalvin Cook. Why would I pay anybody if I'm Jason? We were talking too much Jason Light, but I mean, they're rebuilding mode. I don't want to say, obviously I always say players don't tank, but executives do. They might be in that. There's a lot of bad teams, but they might be in the.
What's crazy about them is I liked a lot of the moves they made this offseason. Like, they were able to keep Jamel Dean. They signed Levante David to a 1-year deal, which I didn't think was going to be possible. I thought he was going to go somewhere else just because of his age, and they were able to still get a productive linebacker there.
Yeah, they still got some talent on defense. I mean, they have Vita. They have Vita Bea. They have.
So shame on Light for keeping that talent on defense because they're in rebuilding mode.
No,
so.
it's it's difficult for me. I say this all the time, Jody, because sort of modern sports has become, well, we can't win the championship, so we might as well shoot for the stars. And in this case,
I have to make a call, Johnny. Which one is it? What should?
No, I'm always going to fight. I'm always going to default to fight. So I don't.
Well, then they should be players for Dalvin Cook, because I'm sorry, their running game just isn't good enough, and Cook makes it better if he signs there.
Yeah, my bold predictions: Rachaad White gets 1,000 yards this year.
Yeah, really? I mean, I think they like White, as Jeff said, more than people realize. And they got a chance of surprise in a bad division because of, they drafted Kancey as well. That's going to be interesting to see how he
felt. I thought he fell to them on draft night. I thought that was a nice fit for them.
Well, I think it's a nice situation for him because you have, he's so undersized, but you got Vita Bea right next to him, taking up blocks. So that'll make things easier for him. I don't know where Shaq Barrett is health-wise, but obviously if he's back, that's a big deal. Antoine Winfield Jr.'s, I think, one of the most underrated players in the league.
He's going to get paid soon.
They have some good players on defense. And that division stinks. So, yeah, I can't tank. I don't like tanking to begin with. I mean, that's not evident. I hate tanking. Now I get it. If you're in season and you're 3-10 and it's pretty clear, if you want to start benching
play your young
people,
guys, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Tanking seemed to work for Doug Peterson in Philly, though.
Well,
in a way. It did work.
No, injuries dictated them giving guys shots.
Well,
I mean, their
in the division helped.
Their tanking was a half when they sat Jalen Hurts, or when it wasn't even a half. What was it? The last quarter? I forget.
Yeah, and they had the lead, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I mean that was a small sample size of tanking in a city that knows more about tanking than anybody else.
The unstoppable Nate Sudfeld.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this whole thing is every time I see Joe Judge, I think like him basically saying, we're going to make the Eagles pay, and we don't do that. I'm like, you guys know you were 6-10, right? You guys were terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. What an awful head coach. But there's been all right, we're getting down a wormhole. Who's the most unprepared head coach? First-time head coach. I always thought it was Josh McDaniels.
Oh, no.
The Daniel Hackett was pretty bad.
No, the first time, Jody, the first time in Denver, Josh McDaniels was
out of his league.
No, we're forgetting one guy who was just in the league 2 years ago.
Urban Meyer.
That would be correct.
Well,
most overmatched. And it's funny because you're such a good college head coach. It shows you the difference between being a college head coach and an NFL head coach. Yeah. He was the most overmatched head coach we've seen in the NFL.
And he beat the Buffalo Bills.
Decades.
Overmatched.
Yeah, I mean, Nathaniel Hackett gave him a run last year. Josh was just embarrassingly awful, and he got a second chance, and he's embarrassingly awful again.
Dennis Allen's not a good head coach, and yet somehow he got another job.
Yeah.
He's a great defensive coordinator. I love him as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Dennis Allen, but he's not at their level.
No. Like the Saints actually know how to win games.
Yeah,
somewhat.
Urban's on a level of his own.
I think Urban was sort of.
Just remember, Jody, Urban got fired because he's an idiot. He didn't get fired because he was a bad coach.
I'm sort of in the same category with Urban Meyer and Steve Spurrier back in the day. They just didn't give a shit. I think they're like, all right, this is the way I do things. And when people don't listen because they're not 18, 19-year-old kids that are scared of them, they just said, all right, well, all right. I'm not gonna try to change. I put them more in that category.
One of my favorite Eagles moments ever was when they beat Spurrier 40-7 on Monday Night Football to give him his first loss in the NFL. Remember, it was the whole Oh, Washington's 4-0 in the preseason. They just blew out a crappy 49ers team.
Preseason.
Yeah.
Did anybody really take preseason into consideration? Really? I find
they used to care about it more in the day. You would hear the occasional. They look so good in preseason. Now nobody does. Now everybody.
No one cares. No one cares. Yeah. Like I remember people would correlate preseason record to regular season record. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Well, going way back because I'm old, I always say there were two, like Denny Green, who I love and have tremendous respect for. He believed in winning preseason games.
John Harbaugh does. I don't think.
Oh yeah, they won like how many? What is there? That's the greatest streak in sports history. By the way,
22 in a row, I believe.
22 in a row preseason wins.
And are Ravens Eagles first game this year?
It is.
Yeah.
So they got no 23 against Quick Nick, the coach of the Eagles. Huh?
I can see Nick being like one of those guys. You know what? No. We're gonna go. No, I'm kidding.
He's not gonna.
He ain't gonna do that.
23 in a row. But Denny would always say, "Winning is a habit. Winning is a habit. Winning is a habit." I want to get these guys in the habit of winning, which I agree with. And then you had Marv Levy was on the other end of the spectrum, who would, if you remember, when Buffalo was great and going all those Super Bowls, they'd go 0-4 in the preseason.
I think Buffalo has the record for most consecutive preseason losses.
And they would get blistered like 40-7 and 40-8, and people would go, "Oh, is Buffalo losing it?" And he would just play. He was looking for those 2 or 3 guys at the back end of his roster. That's all he was looking for. And didn't give a flying you know what about preseason games. I get both sentiments. Now it's completely different. Nobody cares. But back then it was a little bit more important. It was a little bit more important. I will say that.
Dick Vermeil went 0-6 his first preseason with the Eagles.
And it killed him because he did care about preseason.
Yeah, guys, remember we used to
have preseason games. Can you imagine playing 6 preseason games now? Can you imagine?
McMullen and I would be losing it. We would be absolutely losing it in that press box.
All right, Jeff,
we got another one of these?
Jeff Kerr, let's wrap on this note. Hypotheticals, since we started with hypotheticals. And wink, wink, nod, nod, don't think it's happening. But if an NFL team today called and offered the veteran minimum contract to Deshaun Jackson, would he say, "Okay, you're in, I'll report"? Or would he go, "No, wait, I just retired on social media. Yeah, I can't go back on my social word. Thank you, no, I'll stay retired"? Would Deshaun report if a team offered him veteran minimum tomorrow?
You know, I mean, I didn't think he'd sign with the Ravens last year, and he did. So I wouldn't put it past him, but I think he's done.
I hope he enjoys retirement.
I think he's done. You know what? I like what he said, man. I did it my way for 15 years, and good for him.
And by the way, because I just got a text, of all the disrespect seasons, the largest one is looming. It is here. Madden ratings are coming
out. That's right. It's Madden 99.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever the heck it is.
And Justin Jefferson's getting a 99. So everybody else is going to be disrespected.
Oh, boy. Well, I'll tell you what. Patrick Mahomes will probably get a 99, too. Yeah. Jalen Hurts is only a 94 in Madden. Sound the alarms.
It's the biggest because the players care about that.
I was going to say, that's why it's the biggest disrespect, because the players actually care. Like, Lane took 5 seconds to put together a tweet with a clown face on it, and then he moved on. I got more worked up talking about him here on the show than Lane himself, who was disrespected, really did. Oh, they take this Madden stuff so seriously.
Yeah, I mean, these players do know that game sucks, right? Like, the game is absolutely terrible. No.
Don't say that, Jeff Kerr. Don't say that around any of the players. They take that stuff
I've said
really
it around
seriously.
Some of the players. I'm like, you guys actually still play that garbage? That game hasn't gotten good it hasn't been a good game in like 15 years.
I can't speak on video games because I don't care about video games.
I don't play.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that people care about those ratings drives me nuts, to the point I got into it with EA Sports on Twitter once.
That's
I said,
awesome.
"Why are you getting upset about what video game people think about football players?" And they're trying to say, "Oh, it's this large and bald process." I'm like, come on.
No, it's not.
Stop it.
No, it's not. I still remember, I think it was the year after McNabb finished second in MVP. I think Madden rated him a 71. I'm like, what? He just finished second MVP voting. No. That's when
I'm just warning you, get ready for it because it's coming.
Well, and you two guys are reported, so you got to get ready for it because guys will be asking those questions
for a reason here,
to
boys.
players. I guarantee you it's going to happen. You might not, but someone that you're standing next to will.
Yeah, I guarantee it ain't coming from me, and I guarantee if it comes from somebody else, they're getting the eye roll. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I don't think John or Ed Kratz are going to be writing that story.
They will. Somewhat. Mark my words.
Somebody at SI will do it, but it'll be one of the aggregators.
I would care about, John. I think we should do it. I think we should get ESP to do it. Eagles beat writer ratings. I would tune in.
Jimmy did. And I hate when he does this shit. I hate it. And Jimmy knows. He did. Question base off power rankings.
I did see that the one.
And look, we're not supposed to be the fucking story. I'm saying that word too much. I don't
care today, John. I'm loving it.
Yeah. I think he does every year. Kincaid does it on Crossing Broad.
He did. Yeah, Kincaid did a brackets. Yeah, March Madness brackets.
Yeah.
Of
Eagle beat guys.
I don't
Did you guys laugh, by the way, at the Flyers social media thing when
by the way, we got to get Kincaid on because he took a lot of heat for that Flyers thing. And
he did. Oh, yeah. It was an entertaining article, though.
Yeah. No, it was a good piece. Nobody argued with the piece. They just
argued with him.
Go down the route. I was telling Jody last week, everything's political with people who are political. And there's proof of it because they just went down awful routes to poor Kevin Kincaid. And everything he reported was completely true.
Right.
Completely 100% lock, stock, and barrel true.
Kevin had a week between Rhodes' thing and the whole Flyers thing. It's I don't blame him for not being on social media that much last week.
Stick to the facts, KK, and you'll be just fine. And we will get Kincaid on sometime before the season starts. Jeff Kerr, always a pleasure talking to you. If you feel the need,
Jeff Kerr, CBS. Good, thanks, Jeff. Thanks, bud.
Always.
I got to get that plug in. Joe.
John, I guess I'll be seeing you face to face next week.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't have a schedule.
I don't either. You and I are both. I was talking to a couple guys at the Phillies game this week. They're like, "Do you know when training camps?" I'm like, "I know when it starts. That's about it."
I just show up at the gate, man. They let me in or they don't.
At some point, they got to let you in, so we know you'll be there. Jeff Kerr, thank you very much.
See you guys.
McMullen and McDonald, Mac and Mac Birds 365 coming back for hour number 2. Stay right there.